Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. Prophecy Watch, where we go into the prophecies, linking things to the Holy Scriptures to give our people an assurance of mind. All right, as we walk through the straight gate and, we are ending the end of Esau's world, we know things are going to be trying, perilous. All right, so it's very important that you know and understand what's going on, and you know and understand that all of these things are the will of the Lord. All right, and the promise is that he is going to deliver his elect out of the very trouble that is coming, all right, to Babylon the Great and throughout the four corners of the earth. So it is very important, all right, that you root yourself in the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, okay, and listen and hearken unto the true prophets, which the true prophets are not here to pass out turkeys, give out backpacks, all right, make a big pan of potato salad and give, every homeless person in the ghetto a scoop. No, the prophets are here to merely prophesy. We're not here to, do giveaways, which when you see those camps doing that, 9 times out of 10, that is a requirement under their 501c3 tax exempt status so that they can get, more grants and prove to the people who are giving them grants that they are doing the right thing with the money. See, the prophets in the true church of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai was never in league, okay, with Rome, all right, and ultimately the goal was to preach Yahweh Shai, preach the resurrection, and speak the end into existence. This is what we're here to do, and this is why we're not going to be liked. This is why we're going to be spoken against, all right. As we go through the straight gate, we bring out the Bible for what it is, and that offends people. That offends even Israelites. When you go into ancient customs and you bring out this truth for what it is, all right, you get to the nitty gritty of where we are and what's happening and what matters. You find out the mass majority of these people who call themselves Israelites really aren't down with Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, but they're here to fill their own belly, which this is why the majority of you are going to be destroyed. And we don't feel sorry for you because the warning went out. See, and we're at the end of this thing, and MAGA is being dismantled, is breaking up, and we told you all of this was going to happen, as all of the promises that, all right, Nero Trump has promised unto you MAGAs, which we've showed you time and time again that the term MAGA, all right, is tied to, all right, enchantments, a sorceress. Look it up. Okay. We told you it was all a farce. It was all witchcraft. All right. Many of our people got caught up, the so-called black conservatives and the whole promises of Trump and, rooting them on. And now this thing is turning into a disaster, as the majority of the promises that he made, all right, this whole concept of America first is being found out to be a damn lie. Nothing but pure hell is being put on you Americans, man. And this is what the prophecy said would happen. So call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay, we don't ask that you take the hard times away. We ask that you give us the spirit, all right, and mind to deal and keep our integrity through it all, because we know that we're going to have to live as pilgrims. We're going to have to lean, all right, solely on faith. Okay, and we're going to have a mind tied to the heavens as we invest our bodies for the building of the tabernacle of David, you see, in hopes for a blessing in the future, which we see it coming to fruition. We just have to have faith, man. Now, I'm going to get into a few things. As you can see here, Trump has Tucker's blood boiling, and many of, the MAGAs are, turning against Trump. They're turning against the small hat, the tiny top, whatever you want to call them, the big, the big nose people, the people who call themselves, the juice, All right. They banned on TikTok, they banned, the emoji juice because it speaks to those who call themselves JOOs, who are being found out to be the true problem of the earth. And your government, which has been bought out by, all right, those small hat lobbyists, okay, is working in interest for them and not the American people. So all of the moves that are being made, all right, as Trump came in promising, all right, let's get to a few promises that he promised. And the scriptures tell you in the book of Proverbs 25:19, confidence in an unfaithful man in a time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. All right, so this man has proven himself to be unfaithful. This government has proven itself to be hijacked and not working in the interest of the American people. And things are getting bad and they won't get better. Now, Trump promised you people, this is one of the promises that he did come through on. What I asked is, could you give me 5 promises that Donald Trump, made for his 2025 presidency? He said to seal the border, which the border is not being sealed, but, all right, they are deporting, mass amounts of Northern Kingdom, all right, and putting hell on even certain of the tribe of Levi, so-called Haitians. Okay, you don't see too many other, so-called undocumented migrants from China, India, the so-called Arabs. You don't see them really being targeted, though some of them are. But the face of, the undocumented migrants is the Northern Kingdom, which we did a lesson going into the root cause of migration and immigration. Okay, and this devil's, history and present has everything to do with it. Now, he talked about building a wall. That never came, but we believe that the wall is going to be a digital wall, all right, which, all of the problems that that Esau's brought will be, the solution will be brought. All of the problems that the left brought, with this, migration, letting all these people in, being one of them, will be fixed by the right. And I believe a digital wall, via AI surveillance will be one of the solutions. But this is one of the so-called promises that he did come through on. Now let's get to a few more. It says to end inflation, lower everyday costs. That has not happened. Okay, he has not ended inflation. Okay, the tariffs that he's putting on these different countries is leading to more hell on you Americans, while he tells you give him 2 years for things to, work out in your favor. Okay, there's aid going all over the world, all right, in particular to small hats. Okay, Israel, Argentina, the president's a small hat. They have the largest small hat population in South America. Okay, Ukraine, those are small hats. You see nothing but aid going to these people. Okay, but over here, nothing but perplexity. All right, inflation has not ended. Okay, and there's more hell being put on the American people, in particular the working class. Data centers are being built that are making your, your electricity bills higher. But he pledged that starting the day I take oath, I will drive prices down and make America affordable again. That has not happened. Okay, another promise, making America a manufacturing superpower, stopping outsources. He promised to bring thousands of factories back to the U.S., build American, buy American, hire American. Okay, and what is the result of that? Okay, AI takeover. Jobs being lost by the thousands and even hundreds of thousands, in the millions. Okay. 30,000 Amazon announces largest layoff because automation is coming in. Okay. All right. Humanoid construction robots. All right. Truck drivers are losing jobs to AI. Now you got construction. All right. Being threatened with AI. Humanoid construction robots rolling out for construction jobs. So because these companies, all right, and what did Bill Gates tell you? He told you we're not going to need humans for another, maybe for baseball, basketball, but again, they're going to start putting human skin on these robots. So they're going to be playing basketball. And in order for you to keep up or have any chance, you're going to have to merge yourself with machine. So this is the complete devil here, man. Okay? Big A, robots will help avoid hiring 600,000 workers. And this is the promise, all right, of end time prophecy. Isaiah 19:15, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. So this tyrant, as the scriptures say here in Isaiah 19:4, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, a fierce king shall rule over them. And when you read what follows is economic collapse, enchantments, all right, and failure for America, man. Okay? So here it is, all of these promises are being broken. Okay? This is the devil. AI is taking thousands of jobs. Will it take yours? Okay? Humanoid robots are coming for warehouse jobs. Experts say it's a good thing that AI could replace 80% of jobs in the next year. Robot trucks could replace 500,000 jobs in the U.S. All kind of jobs are lost at the hands of this technocracy that's being set up. Okay? Nothing but pure hell being put on the American people. And there's more we can go into, right? So that whole America first, bringing factories and jobs back, that didn't work for you Americans. That's working for the elite technocrats. Large tax cuts for workers, another promise. No tax on tips, overtime, Social Security. He said we're going to have a very large tax cuts. But if he brings tax cuts, then he brings what? All right, tariffs, which is a tax. They get you going, they get you coming, they get you somehow, some way, man. Okay? We're going to have a very large tax cut for workers. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. I don't feel it, right? Status. Plan, articulated legislation and implementation still in progress. Okay? But when it comes to war, AI, okay, and being the devil, they got time. Freedom of speech and religious liberty in Second Amendment. He promised to defend fundamental freedoms, free speech, and right to bear arms. All right, now they're in talks of taking your arms. Now you can't say nothing against him or the small hat. Okay? So this man has turned out to be a complete liar. All right? And the only reason some of them are still, following this devil is because what? He's putting hell on Israelites. They're the face of, SNAP, welfare. And we're finding out that Esau gets the majority of that, man. And those promises and all of those bills are affecting Edomites, all right, as well as Jake. So nothing is getting better for you Americans, man. The Lord is destroying your morale. And now, all right, I said also, didn't he promise to end wars and to attack rich pedophile rings? Short answer, but with important qualifications. Ending war and settling conflicts. Trump repeatedly campaigned and spoke as president about ending U.S. involvement in foreign wars. Why are we all over here? Why are we there? We need to fix America, right? Forcing negotiated settlements. He said he could settle the Russia-Ukraine war, okay, and bring peace. He said he would go after child traffickers and pedo rings, okay? So, yeah, like I always... he remember the whole, I'm going to get the pizza people, I'm going to make sure, the Clintons go to jail. And as soon as he got in, he said they're great people. No Epstein list. You don't see any pedos. Here it is. ICE is waging war on all of these, American citizens, but for some reason, pedos ain't on the list. See? The Dr. Fauci and all of these different demons who did all of this evil, they're not being brought up on charges. They're roaming free, wiggling around. They supposedly have this Epstein list. Nobody's going to jail. So this man has failed you people. And on the talking point of so-called bringing peace, now this dude is getting ready to start a war with Venezuela. He's getting ready to start a war in Nigeria. And we're going to look at a little bit of that. This is off of the Young Turks. Trump has Tucker's blood boiling. Now, remember, Tucker was the number one MAGA. Him and Candace Owens. But see, now they're being used for a different agenda, but it still falls under his own tongue falling on himself, man. This man is completely unfaithful, wicked, unreliable. And I cannot wait until you so-called black, all right, and brown conservatives who all up Trump's ass, all right, when you feel it, man. Because you're going to feel it. And a lot of you are getting wake-up calls. Okay? And a lot of you, mocking the Israelites and, coming on your platforms, they're saying this and that. Get prepare for pure hell, no matter where you at. Let's listen to some of this and get a few videos and get up out of here.
No one is asking the American public whether they want another regime change war. No one is asking Trump voters whether they want another regime change war. Nobody cares. So it's going to happen no matter what people think. In fact, if it does...
And he's talking about a regime change in Venezuela because they want the oil. Now, remember, Biden was boasting in all of the oil we have here. We don't need foreign oil anymore. We got oil reserves here. So now all of a sudden there's this big deal about Venezuela and they're blowing up ships that go no faster than 100 miles per hour, saying that they're holding drugs when all of your fentanyl comes over here from China. Why ain't you blowing up any China ships? Because you know what that would mean. This man is a complete, and he ain't going to stop. Remember, the scripture said that this man took peace from the earth. Okay, let's get that. Revelation, the 6th chapter, in the 4th verse. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So he has that great sword. But every time you look up, it's nothing but war. War. It's just nothing. It's just so. This talking point that he was going to bring peace and end wars, and fix domestic and stop worrying about, foreign. Because if you look at America's foreign policy along with Israel, all they do is commit acts of crime and they use their U.S. media to justify it, man. And that's the same thing that they're doing with this Venezuela thing, man. Showing you these ships, they're just blowing them up. Shouldn't they get due process? Shouldn't you pull them over and prove that they have drugs? But they're just showing you we're blowing up, ships full of drugs, these small ships full of drugs, right? And, some of the American people are rooting it on, but then a lot of the American people are starting to ask, what the heck does this do for us? Our government shut down. We ain't getting, you got certain people who ain't getting aid. And it ain't just people who don't work that get SNAP and food stamps. There are a lot of people that work that just need help because the jobs don't pay enough. Because of what? Inflation. Meaning it takes more dollars for you to enjoy simple things. Okay? Less, it takes more dollars to get less product. More dollars to get less land or a house. So people need what? They need a subsidy. They need, supplement. All right. Now, you do have certain people who just use the system and have a bunch of kids. All right. Edomites as well as Jakes. But a lot of the people that use these SNAP programs are working everyday Americans who just don't have enough, man. Because not everybody is afforded the same job. Not everybody has the same skill. Not everybody is going to, make the same amount of money. Some people are going to have lower paying jobs. Some people are going to have higher paying jobs. Okay. And the welfare system and SNAP itself was first meant to help white farmers, white families who needed aid and assistance. But Jake got up in there and Esau got mad. And now they want to make Jake and Keisha the face of it, which, okay. But you devils, man. We'll get into that in another lesson. Let me keep this going.
Does happen and will likely happen at a time when most Americans had no idea it was about to happen. In other words, it'll be a huge surprise to everyone if this happens.
Tucker Carlson believes that we are going to engage in a regime change war with Venezuela, whether we like it or not. What are your 2 cents, Jake? And
when you hear America talking about a regime change, just like the whole Iran thing, they want a leader in there that will be more, willing to do the bidding of them in Israel. Okay, and so that they can, have more control over the resources. We've seen it time and time again, man, what these devils are up to. Okay?
Yeah, I think this is part of the Great Awakening. So this isn't just about Israel or Epstein anymore. Now we're talking about, wait, we said anti-war. Why are we starting a giant war with Venezuela? I think Tucker's about to ask some really interesting questions.
Absolutely. So the Trump administration claims that they are bombing these fishing boats off the coast of Venezuela because they are actually drug traffickers. And we are now engaged in an entirely new militarized drug war, which, by the way, even if that were true, it's a pretty disastrous way of responding to the overdose epidemic here in the United States, where close to 100,000 people are dying, mostly from fentanyl every year. Now, Tucker Carlson doesn't believe this is about drugs. So
fentanyl comes from China. That's been proven. So why ain't you bombing China?
Weighs in on what he thinks this is really about. Let's take a look.
It's about drugs. That's what we've been hearing now. It's about drugs. But how significant is Venezuela in the hemispheric drug trade? If you're looking at the drug trade in the United States, how much of that comes from Venezuela? Well, we have a fentanyl crisis, famously. Does fentanyl come from Venezuela? No, it doesn't. It actually comes from Mexico. Huh. What about meth? Well, meth also comes from Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico as well. I forgot about that. China and Mexico.
What about cocaine? That would be Peru, Bolivia, and Colombia.
I gotta say, he's very informed on this. And
now, understand, this is MAGA. So what we're witnessing is Egyptian against Egyptian, a kingdom divided, which speaks to biblical prophecy, man. Okay? Isaiah 19:2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. All right?
When it comes to foreign policy topics, he's more informed than I previously gave him credit for, because he's totally right, by the way, in regard to which drugs are actually harming Americans, where the drugs are coming from, and how, in the grand scheme of things, Venezuela is not a major player in the drug trade. And so it's important to know that when you're hearing the narrative from the Trump administration in regard to the military buildup that we're now seeing off the coast of Venezuela. Now, he then hits at Senator Lindsey Graham, and I really enjoyed this for a number of different reasons. Let's watch the clip first, and then I'll tell you why.
Venezuela is now partnering with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is running out of money because Iran is weak.
That's not new.
Partnering with drug cartels in Venezuela. No, it should have stopped. Here's what's new. You got a commander-in-chief's not going to put up with this crap. We're not going to sit on the sidelines and watch boats full of drugs come to our country. We're going to blow them up and kill the people that want to poison America.
It's like they're just bloodthirsty. And, okay, what about the American people? What about reopening the government? What about, people going to work for free? What about all of these jobs that are being taken over by AI? What about the America First ideology? Okay, Trump, let's type in Trump America First plan. Okay. The president will usher in a golden age for America by reforming and improving government bureaucracy to work for the American people. Okay. So where is it at? Trump's America First plan is a set of policies centered on prioritizing Americans' interest, right? Where is it at? The robots taking over? See, they showed y'all the robot doing a running man at the halftime at the Saints game, at the Cowboys game, and y'all thought, these robots are getting ready to take over, and they're getting ready to police your ass. This place is completely through. So where's the America First? Where is it at? Your formers are catching hell, which is pretty much one of the biggest, one of the main, backbone of a thriving, a country getting screwed over, right? Where's the American First policies at? Oh, give him time. Okay. In a little bit of time, it's going to be people raiding the streets, man. Searching for these people. That's prophetic.
We're now going to expand operations, I think, to the land.
We're not going to torture you by replaying that tape, but if you rewind it in your spare time to the point where he says, and I'm quoting, "We're going to kill people," you can see a little shiver of excitement go through his aging frame. We're going to kill people. We're going to kill people, and we're going to kill them, as Lindsey Graham just explained, because Hezbollah in Lebanon. Okay, what does that have to do with us? Have a lot of Americans been killed by Hezbollah in the United States with money?
You will never stop drugs. Drugs are a part of American culture. The war on drugs brought more drugs. You benefit from drugs. Okay, the scriptures tell you that one of your biggest sins, one of the biggest reasons you got to go and you're going to go down, is your sorceries. Let's get that in Revelation, the 18th chapter. Okay, Revelation 18 and 23. "And the light of a candle shall no more at all shine in thee, and the voice of a bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee." No more of these, stupid parades, marriages. All right. These false Western weddings, $1 million, 600,000. A poor man, he got to subject himself to paying for this big ass wedding where a bunch of people show up hating on him and his so-called wife, and his 4 men there that had her secretly. Shit is a madness, man. "For thy merchants were the great men of the earth," all of these elites, right? "And for by thy sorceries were the nations deceived." So you thrive off of drugs. Even when you brought a war on drugs, it was only to dismantle Jake families. Okay, which the Clintons was big on that, right? The 3 strikes and you out, all of that. I don't know if that was the Clintons or Bush, but overall, you've used drugs. You've put drugs. All of these drugs were allowed over here, and you benefited from it. The word is pharmakia, the use of administering drugs, poisoning, sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry, fostered by metaphorically of the deceptions of idolatry. So your pharmakia, your witchcraft, pharmacy, which you got pharmacies on every corner too. So you like to point the finger at the drug dealing nigga. Well, you a drug dealer on a whole nother level. See, what people are angry with about black culture only mimics so-called white culture, but on smaller scales, and ultimately you just control the media to where a camera can always be in front of Jake. And that's no excuse to Jake. Our people are going to pay for that wickedness. They're a bunch of witches and warlocks, but the chief witch and warlock will be addressed by Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, you devils, man.
From Venezuela? If so, when did that happen? Can you prove it?
That's a good question. And obviously he's implying here, why are we engaging in a potentially devastating war when Hezbollah isn't harming Americans? So why would we do this? And I think that's an important statement to make. And guys, even if you don't like what's happening in Venezuela, and that's totally fine. I don't like what's happening in Venezuela. It doesn't mean that I want to use our resources and risk the lives of our soldiers
Why is Venezuela in the shithole that it is? Why is Haiti the shithole that it is? Why is South America the shithole that it is? With all of the resources. Why is Africa the shithole that it is? With all of the resources. Why? What's the true issue? Could it be colonization? Could it be the elite bankers, dominating these countries and giving them loans that they can never pay back, so they're constantly in debt to the bankers? Hell, America's in debt to the bankers. That's why they continue waging wars. So they can get more money. These people are the problem of the earth, man. So now America's being dragged into another war.
In engaging in a regime change war in Venezuela because I don't like the regime there.
Yeah. So first of all, to that point, that's a lot of these points are actually super simple. What's different now than before is the right wing is also making those simple, correct, obvious points.
I know, but it's like the most white pilling thing that's happening in the country right now.
No, absolutely.
Is that blue I see?
Is that a white pill you see? And MSNBC, Fox, CNN do the culture wars where they give the fake appearance that they disagree. But when it comes to economic issues, donor issues, including war, they all agree. They all magically agree. We got to go to war. We got to go to war. We have to go to war with Iran for Israel. We have to let Israel. We cannot question their funding. You must send the money for war. We must go to war with Venezuela.
They keep boogeymans in your face because they're the boogeyman and they're getting caught left and right.
So when Tucker Carlson and others were on Fox News, let's be honest, they were not saying these things because Rupert Murdoch paid them a ton of money to do pro-war propaganda.
Yes.
Which, by the way, to Tucker's credit, he's partly apologized for, right?
Not partly. He has expressed remorse in...
Yeah, so a lot of these, right-wingers who are, making a big fuss, a lot of them, used to be, like Tucker Carlson, what's his name? Natalie and Clayton Morris. They used to be on these CNN and, Fox, and they couldn't really say what they wanted to say. So now that they were let loose, the Lord is using them in the book of Psalm 64, right? He's using them to Psalm 64 and 8. It says, so shall they make their own tongues to fall on themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So their own tongue is falling on their own selves. Thine own mouth condemn thee. See that? Proverbs 12:13. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble, man. Job 15:6. Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thine own lips testify against thee. So it's MAGA that's complaining about Trump. It's MAGA that's cursing out the small hat. It's even MAGA that's bringing out the mark of the beast. What's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, Miss Potato Head. She bringing out the mark. He, she, whatever it is. Now she's still a Edomite, but she talks about the mark of the beast.
She says here, Congress is secretly pushing for a cashless society, setting the mark of the beast.
The groundwork is being laid. Currency that can be controlled by the federal government. I've read the Bible, and I believe what Revelations 13:16 through 17 says, and I just cannot vote for a future system that will do that.
She says...
See that? This ain't the only place where she said it. She said it a few times. In 2020, she was talking about the vax passes, are leading to the MOTB. So now you're seeing they're turning on themselves.
Going along with the neocons during the Bush era multiple times. And that's what made me open up to the idea of going on his podcast, because that means he has a level of self-awareness that honestly is not prevalent among media people in the United States.
Yeah, and so to your point, Anna, and Tucker's point, so China is got concentration camps for the Uyghurs. That's the ethnically Turkic group inside China that my family was named after, okay? That doesn't mean I think we should go to war with China.
That would be a bad idea.
I don't want World War III. North Korea is being absolutely vicious to its own citizens. It breaks my heart every day. But they have an enormous number of missiles, including maybe nukes, pointed at Japan, South Korea, and maybe even us. No, I don't think we should go to war with North Korea, even though they're bad guys, terrible guys. So this simplistic thinking is all we had in mainstream media. They claim to be the most educated, elite, smartest people in the country, and they get together on these cable news and talk like a bunch of morons in like the most simplistic ways. Saddam is a bad guy. He comes from the general area that Al Qaeda came from.
Cenk,
right?
Look, usually I would push back because I think sometimes you're a little unfair to media, right? But I literally had an experience with this week. So on Abby Phillips' show, we talked about what's happening with the military buildup off the coast of Venezuela. And as you know, it's a debate panel show, so there were supporters of what's going on, including a former lieutenant governor, I forget her name, Betsy something. But anyway, we're all engaging in this conversation as if, no, the narrative that this is all about stopping the flow of drugs into the United States is true. Like, we're just taking that at face value. And literally multiple times in the context of that segment, I'm like, this isn't about drugs, this is about regime change. Now look, I actually don't think that there's only one factor motivating what the US government is doing right now. And to be fair to Tucker Carlson, he also brought up in his monologue that there are very wealthy and influential Venezuelan exiles living in South Florida who are engaging in our system of political corruption. Remember, our Secretary of State, he's Cuban American, of course. He's from Florida. Who knows how many of those folks have donated money to him? So that happened.
So a bunch of things about that. One, our former managing editor, Jonathan Larson, make sure you check him out on Substack. He's written about this. They're actually very wealthy and oftentimes criminal elements in Venezuela trying to get themselves and their money out. They're working with the people who are giving us the evidence about Venezuela's wrongdoing. So be super wary of that. Number two, did you notice the conversation stopper that Lindsey Graham was trying to say? He's like, well, you know, they're working with Lebanon and Hezbollah, and so obviously we have to invade them. And no one ever asked before on the right, before Tucker and Candace started doing it, wait, why is that an end of the conversation? So Israel wants us to invade Venezuela, so we must invade Venezuela. Yeah. Why is it we must, and why is the conversation over when you say, well, the people I tell you are...
Yep, and the scriptures talks about how the least of the flock is going to draw them out. You see Israel's at the forefront of using Babylon as the hammer of the earth, along with NATO and EU countries, and a lot of them are fed up with it. They're tired of this. Because Babylon's look is more stout than his fellows, man. So Babylon is imploding from the inside as well. This goes into everything that prophecy says.
Terrorists. And what are terrorists? They're people who kill people in a terroristic way. And they're terrorists because I tell you they do this. It's like it's this circular argument with no proof presented. And I guess what gets me about my colleagues is they seem to think that these people are less than human. They're not even deserving of the respect of animals. Just kill them. And it's sort of this laughing sort of ha, 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 you know, these are really bad people that gets to me is that, well, what if you're wrong? Civilized people don't do this. And it's not going to stop the drugs. They'll go a different route. And we got to get away from the ridiculous nature or notion that these boats are coming to America. Oh, we got to self-defend against these boats coming to America. These boats can't go more than about 100 miles without filling up for gas. There's so much that
Damn, I said that earlier. I didn't even... Yeah, these boats, like, come on, man. Stop, just pull them over and pull the drugs out. Prove it.
is insane about this policy.
Here. Can't agree more with what he just said.
Yeah, so first of all, they only go about 100 miles. Venezuela's 2,000 miles from us. So that is not even close to possible for them to get here. But again, all we needed was a couple of people asking simple questions, right? And then Rand Paul talked about how, hey, 25% of the time we stop people for drugs, the Coast Guard does. It turns out they're not carrying drugs, we were wrong. So if we have a 25% error rate in the people we're killing, that is monstrous, right? That's not a small thing to do. Oh, 25, at a bare minimum, 25% of the people we killed were the wrong guys and totally innocent. And then Anna, you made a point on CNN about
regime change war, boots on the ground in Venezuela.
I recently went into D.C. and I talked to some people. Some of the people I talked to are just below the decision maker level. And it ultimately boiled down to it's time for us to be strong again. As though bombing hapless people in Venezuela or Colombia or Nicaragua or anywhere in Latin America is testimony to our greatness as a nation. And of course, the final straw is, well, we've got to destroy the drug problem where it originates. Well, I've got a big flash of the obvious. The drug problem originates here inside the United States. So, bombing these places isn't going to stop anything. It's not going to improve anything. It may turn out to rally all of Latin America against us. The evil Yankee who's intervening yet again inside Central and South America. We're blamed for almost everything that's wrong down there. All we're doing is saying, I guess you're right. Look what we're doing now. It's not going to change anything. But that means you've got to come home. This seems to be the thing that no one in Washington wants to do. Somebody said, Doug, what do you want to come home for?
That bit of insight was important to hear. It's important to know what the thinking in Washington is. But with that in mind, final video. This is Colonel McGregor talking about guerrilla groups and drug cartels and various threats to our soldiers should we decide to put boots on the ground in Venezuela.
Mrs. Machado, I don't know if she's married or not, so I call her Mrs. She may just be Miss Machado. She's the lady that just won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she's from Venezuela. And she said, if we're liberated by the U.S. Armed Forces and they remove Maduro, our first act will be to move the Venezuelan embassy to Jerusalem.
What does that have to do with? I'm completely confused. Like what?
Well, you can't be that confused. I think she's hit on something very important. She's figured out where the power lies, and she's playing to the audience that makes the decisions. You're talking about this democracy business. We've always been a republic with limited democracy, but I think we can pretty much conclude that we're ruled now by a small group of extraordinarily wealthy people, billionaire oligarchs.
So
they're calling it out. They're saying everything that we've been saying.
Because of the political projects and political agenda of foreign countries, whether it be regime change in Venezuela, what's going down in Jerusalem, none of this impacts us as Americans.
There you go.
But we're going to potentially put our soldiers in harm's way, potentially get confronted by various guerrilla groups in Latin America who are apparently, according to Colonel McGregor, chomping at the bit to attack American soldiers.
Like it says, Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Because he ain't going to stop. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people, neither keepeth at home. Point blank. I mean, well, how clear can the prophecy be? Jump into another war this nigga getting ready to try to start.
All right, well, we're going to begin this morning with a Fox News alert.
President Trump ordering the Pentagon to prepare for possible fast military action in Nigeria if the country fails to crack down on the mass killing of Christians.
Rebecca Castor joins us live from Washington, D.C. with those details. Rebecca, good morning.
Rachel, good morning. Yeah, President Trump is not mincing words here. This is what he said on Truth Social yesterday. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into the now disgraced country at guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible attack. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth got the message and says the Department of War is preparing for action. The response comes as the persecution of Christians in Nigeria has reached crisis levels. Islamist militants have burned down churches and Christian schools.
Even vocab brought this up. Okay, which it could be propaganda. All right, I did what I typed in here. I said, why is Trump preparing for war in Nigeria? Okay, and all of a sudden America is on this Christian tip, but the Christian tip is only tied to war and talk about how superior they are, and you know, nothing else. It's just, you know, whenever they talk about being Christians, it's always tied to war and dominating people, starting shit. He claims that Christians in Nigeria are being killed in very large numbers. What does this do for Americans? These Americans don't give a damn about the Bible. I was looking at some article, see if it's here. These Christians don't even know that the Bible is against being a sodomite. Look at this. Lesbo couple accused of torturing 12-year-old boy. This place is sick, man. SNAP recipients threatened to loot. It was another. I was looking at something. 4.9 million pounds of frozen chicken recalled. Man, this is complete hell. It was an article I saw. It's talking about Christians. It was talking about the Bible. But it was talking about how Christians here in America don't even have, they don't know that the Bible has a judgment on GAYs. See that? Let's see. It's something. Yeah. It's cool. Yeah. Most churchgoers don't think the Bible has clear teachings about homosexuality and transgenderism. And they do. Hey, the scriptures tell you if a man have his private part cut out, he can't enter into the congregation. All right. Clearly, the scriptures give strict attention to gender roles and telling, men not to, wear things pertaining to a woman, and, woman not pertaining to wear things pertaining to a man if a man lie with mankind. But the most Christians and churchgoers, they don't even believe, they don't know that. New study reveals that half of American adults don't believe the Bible is literally true. So these people, this whole argument about the Bible now that you see these Edomites doing, it's only a farce, man. War is in this man's heart. He don't give a damn about you American people. He's going to continue going around the four corners of the earth doing what he's been doing. And now he's getting ready to bring in an NWO. This is what he's doing. He claims that Christians in Nigeria are being killed in very large numbers and argues that Nigerian government is failing to protect them. So they got to go and protect them. What about what Gil Bates goes down into Nigeria and different parts of Africa to do? You care about that? All those juices he's putting in people. He says the U.S. will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria, all right, unless violence stops. He has introduced the U.S. military or Department of War to prepare for possible military action. Okay? The official reason is his manslaughter. The manslaughter of Christians by Islamic militants is always this Islam versus Christian, or small hat thing he keeps in the news to keep people, on edge and, looking for a boogeyman. There's a border security issue in Nigeria. Insurgent groups such as Boko Haram and other armed groups are active. All right, but are they a threat to Americans? It may also reflect domestic political incentives, highlighting a strong foreign policy posture, appealing to evangelical Christian countries concerned about persecution abroad. What about turning the other cheek? Are you so hateful, dude? And projecting leadership on religious freedoms issues. You got freedom of religion unless you are a Muslim, which to hell with them. They ain't got the truth. But you see war being justified, being waged on, the Muslims because, with the small hat thing and this. That's just them putting hell on the children of Ishmael and justifying, all right, which they're children of Abraham, but they're not the chosen children. Right? But Esau is just going to keep going. Nigeria's government strongly rejects the characterization that it's allowing Christian genocide or is only protecting one religious group. The violence in Nigeria is very complex. Many victims are Muslims. That's what one of the leaders out there in Nigeria said. They said those Muslims being attacked too. Many attacks are motivated by ethnic, resource, or communal disputes rather than purely religious persecution. So this is the U.S. using their propaganda machine to justify doing what they always do. I mean, at what point are you people going to wake up to who this man really is and what he's all about? Experts say that Christian-only framing is oversimplistic. legally and operational, mounting a large-scale U.S. military intervention in Nigeria would be very difficult. Issues of sovereignty, approval from Nigeria, logistics, local cooperation, risk of escalations. And they're just going to go over there and set up a smart city. All right, which I believe Nigeria or maybe Ghana is already, the leaders already got that whole, thing going. I believe you go here, you could just type in Nigeria. This is biometricupdate.com. But I believe Nigeria, their leaders are already bringing it. Nigeria intends to boost universal health coverage drive with digital ID. So that's all that's happening. Okay? Next biometric supplies 20 sensors for Nigeria. Nigeria, Zimbabwe launch new farmer digital ID initiatives. So you already see what it is. Over 3.5 million enroll as continuous biometric voter registration begins in Nigeria. Digital ID issuance platform for Nigerians. So what do you think this is really all about? And the leaders, are kind of, like striking back, which a lot of it is theater.
50,000 Christians have been murdered in the country since 2009. But the president of Nigeria claims the reports of violence are misleading. It says on X, the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. And our administration is committed to working with the United States government and international community to deepen understanding and cooperation of communities of all faiths. President Trump also recently redesignated Nigeria as a country of concern after former President Biden removed it from the list in 2021. Rachel, Charlie, and Griff, back to you.
All right, Rebecca, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Well, it's really hard to tell what's going on. We understand that they are...
Well, you already know what's going on. Okay?
An urgent message from President Trump demanding Nigeria stop the brutal murders of thousands of Christians in the country or face possible action from the Pentagon. He posted in part, quote, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible...
So now as Islamic terrorists in Nigeria, we got to stop them. I mean, again, this man is not going to stop. Okay, Psalms 55. Psalms 55 and 20, he put it forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He have broken his covenant. He ain't gonna stop, man. I mean, goodness gracious, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they're a drawn sword. So he just wants to wage war, man. That's all he want to do. That's just what he's about. Again, he was blessed with the sword and he's using it. Okay? War is in this man's heart. And they're divided. They're through. Meanwhile, you Americans, right? While they going all around the world, saving the world, right? Arrows of Indignation, Racism is Expensive. Subscribe. You see the title of the page.
American farmers have destroyed themselves by voting for this Trump regime. Their hate for so many groups of people that they have learned to demonize allow them to vote themselves out of business by voting for Donald Trump and today's MAGA Republicans. I don't know what else to say. We already know how the American soybean farmer was decimated. This fall, China, their biggest customer, placed exactly 0 orders for soybeans from American farmers because of Donald Trump's regime's tariffs. They went to Brazil. We all saw the videos of the farmers crying in Arkansas, I believe it was. Please, Mr. President, we love you, but come save us. Oh, you guys, it just gets so much worse. So you know how our $20 billion in taxes, yours, Mr. Farmer, and mine, was just snatched from us and given to the leader of Argentina to help keep their version of Donald Trump in power? Your 20 billion and my 20 billion? This was screenshot on our Department of Treasury's cell phone from our Department of Agriculture. Ready? Finally, just a heads up, I'm getting more intel, but this is highly unfortunate, the text said. We bailed out Argentina yesterday, and in return, the Argentines are removing their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price, and sold a bunch of soybeans to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China. Soy prices are dropping.
So it's just nothing but bad news for you people.
Things have to get tougher. If we end the filibuster, we can do exactly what we want. We're not going to lose power. The theory is, oh, then we'll do it. But then when they get into power someday, they'll do it. That's true. But you know what?
So you think
we're here right now.
Food assistance funding is supposed to be distributed today, despite the White House saying it actually would not because of the government shutdown. You see, 2 federal judges ruled Friday the Trump administration has to dip into a contingency fund to make this happen. In a social media post, the president said he asked his lawyers to get clarification from the court about how to legally fund SNAP benefits. And the Transportation Secretary says the shutdown's impact on the nation's airports is going to get worse. On Face the Nation, Sean Duffy said the government will stop air traffic to avoid safety issues. And new CBS News polling shows more Americans are feeling uneasy about the shutdown's economic impact. 54% of Americans say they're very concerned, which, as you see on your screen, is up from 49% early last month. And more people are souring on the politicians involved as well. President Trump, Democrats, and Republicans in Congress have all seen people's disapproval of their handling of the shutdown rise since October. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes brings us more.
So nothing is getting done for the American people. What happened to America first?
A lot of people in MAGA are starting to see the end of this horrific global nightmare, which is known as the MAGA regime, which is coming to a climax because they cannot keep this group together if the strong man is frail. And all we're seeing from Kanks right now is utter frailty, dementia, physical and mental decline, to quote him, the likes of which the world has never seen. Tucker Carlson is noticing this, and Tucker Carlson we all need to keep an eye on. He is an opportunist and he is a grifter, and he is already starting to create so much daylight between himself and this MAGA regime. I think he's probably positioning himself for a run because he knows that this cult has to go somewhere. He is already closing the curtains on Dear Leader. Play the clip.
That you hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build. You hope that. You hope that a year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country. And trust me, if it is, if that does happen, there is never a more justified moment for civil disobedience than that, ever, and there never will be. Because if they can tell you what to say, they're telling you what to think. There is nothing they can't do to you because they don't consider you human. They don't believe you have a soul. A human being with a soul, a free man, has a right to say what he believes, not to hurt other people, but to express his views.
All right, this strategy is twofold. Number one, it is self-preservation, because if he wants to have a political future after the passing of Kanks or the passing of the MAGA regime to J.D. Vance or whomever, he sees what they're trying to do. They are using a lot of, like Charlie Kirk's death, for example, as a Reichstag fire style calling to erode civil liberties. And if they concentrate power, nobody will ever be able to puncture inside of leadership. It will be kind of fixed. And it's all going to be operated by these oligarchs that own Lil Smokey, the failed drag queen, J.D. Vance. But this is already happening. What Tucker Carlson is scared of right there is this consolidation of power and eroding civil liberties. And a sitting U.S. senator is already doing this. Kylie, pop up the tweet. Senator Eric Schmidt says Antifa is a well-coordinated organization with safe houses and money that is laundered internationally. This is a complete lie, not based on any evidence. This is complete propaganda for the purposes of eroding civil liberties.
Yeah, because they're going to label everybody Antifa. He's getting ready to wage war on upright conversation. But he's doing it very, very craftily. But it ain't going to work. People are going to lose it, man.
Moving along, you guys, this is some piping hot tea. Kylie, put up the tweet in the headline. Kash Patel reportedly clashed with a top intelligence officer over looking into the potential foreign ties of the suspected killer of Charlie Kirk. Keystone Cash has hissy fit over Charlie Kirk murder.
So it's nothing but division, nothing but erosion, nothing but moral decay, nothing but foolish leadership, nothing but childish, stupid leadership, and nothing but the end of Babylon, man. So I just wanted to get into a few of those things. It's a lot more, but Lord willing, we'll be back in due time. Shalom.